Another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelli Melissa Reinhardt, and with every episode, I know I say this all the time, but I am excited for my guest. As you can see, she is here, but I also just love being back in the studio because you get to have the connection one-to-one, and it's not just like talking on a screen. You actually like physically get to be next to each other, so always a good time. But let me properly introduce my guest so that she can share a little bit more about her story. But Via Moscato is a domestic violence survivor and shares her love for women empowerment and advocacy for mental health through her passion for fashion. Via Moscato has created a safe space in the fashion industry with size adjustable clothing with a goal towards body positivity. And I will say, I mean, the main reason we've now done 2 fashion shows together, and I more so this last one noticed the size adjustable, which I thought was so cool. But I would love for you to share a little bit more of your background and your story with the audience before we start talking about the fashion aspect.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you said, I'm a domestic violence survivor. So, I got into this relationship really early on. I was like 19. I was with him for like 7 years. Yeah, we had a kid together. And so that's when I kind of felt really stuck in it. And in that, I had lost my identity. Just being a mom, staying at home, you kind of just like become that, right? And so when your world becomes really small like that, it's kind of hard to break out of that. And so I actually found the release of that through fashion. I never went to school for it. I kind of just went for it. Actually, ironically, he was the one that bought me my first sewing machine as an adult. And so I really just like dived into that, and that started to become my new identity. And so as a fashion designer, my first official line that I launched as an adult was lingerie that was also size adjustable, because for me, that was your utmost freedom as a woman. It was your sexuality. It was, being free in your body and loving who you are. And as I got into that a little bit more, I realized not everybody does love their body. And so that kind of engulfed what became my new adjustable line that is a little bit more woman focused, a little bit more modest, and a little bit more kind of like business powerful. So I've been getting into that a lot more recently.
Nice. That's awesome. I mean, yes, I guess when I think about lingerie, I'm like, what's the point when it's just going to end up on the floor? But I get it though, because I worked for a boudoir photography studio.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I actually at one of those points in my life, but I sold, because we did the like MLM kind of part of it with the corsets.
Yeah, okay.
And that was one of my first experience, because those also, they had the backs that you could adjust. So seeing the different size of women and how you could put them in certain shapes and all that thing, right? So that was kind of one of my first, I guess, if you talk about fashion, one of my intros into that side of the world of just like, oh, okay, like, and you feel good when you put it on, and it feels empowering, and you're like,
right. And so, yeah, a lot of my lingerie was like the corset-y backs and things like that made them size adjustable. And I've been incorporating that into more of my like modern kind of businesswoman attire as well, where some of the jackets will have corset backs and you can kind of adjust them in that manner. And so, yeah, like I said, that's kind of just what freedom of expression looks like for me, is being comfortable and also confident in your clothes.
I love that.
Yes.
I know you know a little bit about me, but also like I am not, I guess not stylish is the word to use, but I love to be comfortable. I was in the corporate world for a really long time, so I had to wear corporate attire.
Boring clothes. Yes. You poor thing.
I also, I actually had a breast reduction several years ago, but I was very big. So I felt like I didn't fit in any clothes. And I was very, everything that I wore, like, I just felt like that was such a space that people always were looking. And so I didn't feel comfortable in my own body.
Yeah.
And so it
and once
was
again, your identity starts to kind of warp around that, and that starts to kind of encompass our insecurities, which now moves into the mental health section of the fashion industry, because it is such a surface level industry where everything is so aesthetically pleasing that we don't really dive deeper than that. So like you'll show up and like as long as your makeup's on, your hair is pressed, like your nails look good, your camera ready, no one's like, how are you today?
Oh, right.
Like, you know, did you meditate? Are you fine? You know? And so that's kind of the other side of what I do, is that body positivity and the mental health really for women, because there are so many of us out there that like, you know, I would never know that about you because you almost wear this air of confidence that you have now, but there's a journey that you've been through to get to that, you know? And so, and very much the clothes that we wear are that self-expression of ourselves. And so before I even got into fashion itself, I started in the industry as a model. And so I was signed to my first mother agency, as we call them, when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And I immediately got a contract for JCPenney for 6 years. And I walked as a runway model for JCPenney for 6 years. And I went from basically like never being in heels to like heels almost every day, you know, and like it was a very rigorous process to learn how to be a proper runway model. Now, I was signed obviously as a youth because I was 9 years old, which is why my contract was very specifically 6 years. And so if math precedes me, that gets us to the age of 15. At 15 years old, now I'm considered an adult in the modeling industry, and my contract now ended. I was up for basically reevaluation to get re-signed. Now, they have these standards in the industry that are very commonly known in the industry, but not to like everyday people. One of those being an average height for the runway model that is female, the bare minimum is 5'9" tall.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So in order to be signed as a runway model, as a female, even at 15, I was expected to be at my peak height. And I, to this day, I'm not even kidding you, I am 5'8.5".
Oh, wow.
I lost my contract over a half of an inch. And so quite literally the industry that I grew up in, that I was raised in, that literally groomed me, you know, turned their back on me so fast and nobody would sign me, you know? And so it was quite jarring to have that realization of like, oh, if you don't fit their needs anymore, like you're done. And so that's why there's this pressure to stay relevant. And, you know, now you have to stay skinny and you have to be tall enough. You have to be pretty enough. You have to be charismatic, you know? And so there is so much of the mental health that goes into the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't talk about in that industry. And so after they kicked me out was when I started my first clothing line at 15 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was actually reversible jackets. I did a lot of like character-based stuff. So I had like a Ninja Turtle one, and it was reversible to the other side that was actually the same colors as your Make Mental Health Matter, which is so funny to me. But it was like like checkered pattern that was the same colors as that, and it was reversible. I had like a Little Mermaid one, and I actually just recently sold those as like my original designs. Yeah, to one of my friends here in Denver. And she bought my first two like very original pieces that I made in high school. And so I started doing that. That was actually my first lookbook as a designer, because I got everybody who bought one from me to wear them on yearbook day.
Oh, nice. Like, wear your shirt.
Yeah.
Or your jacket.
Yeah. So like that was my first lookbook technically as a designer. It was like my high school yearbook. So that was really funny. So yeah, that kind of moved me into like, you know, going into that relationship early on, and then, you know, kind of just losing that identity that I had built almost a second time from the fashion industry into now my, you know, young adult womanhood. And so that's why it's so passionate for me to be able to care about women and the fashion industry and how they're lying to us, you know, and it all kind of just wraps around itself.
Yeah, I thought of when I was younger, I kept getting all those be a model, blah blah blah, right? Like you can go and I can't remember what company it was for, but
probably Barbizon.
Yes, I was like, it's something a long time ago. Yes, yeah.
They're still around.
Oh, interesting.
They actually rebranded because they got in some PR trouble, and they have different branches by different names now.
Okay.
Part of the model safety stuff that I tell people about is like, don't trust everybody. Do your research. Yes. They rebrand quite often because they're not very.
No, yeah, I went to one of the calls or whatever, and I'm short. I'm 5'3.5". That half it matters. Okay. Yes. But I again younger. I mean, up until probably what was it? Junior year, sophomore, junior year. Like I was not even 100 pounds soaking wet, but I used to wear giant clothes because that was back in the day with Jenkos and
heck yeah, all the denim, coming back too.
Yes, it is. I know, and I'm like, wow, okay, but yeah, I went to one of the model calls, and it didn't end up working out, obviously, but I also had this idea that I always wanted to be a model. So our friends just playing around, we'd always like take pictures and do the model
fashion
thing,
shows. Our sleepovers. You should have seen us.
you're like, let's make up, but and I think it's like every girl's dream because they see these beautiful women up on the stage, and they're tall, skinny, and you're like, oh, I want to be them.
Yeah.
What I love about what you do is you're like shaking up the industry.
Oh, they hate it.
Which I love, right? Because that's just me too. Is I love mismatched things. I love changing things up, and just like I don't like being normal, whatever normal is.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't know that about you have to be 5'9" for
females. Yeah, it's
that's tall.
6'2" for males.
Jeez.
Yeah, and some of them like are even stricter than that, and they'll and it's and then they've got fit models too, and fit models are the ones that go to the studios with the designers, and they have to be an exact size small. They have to be an exact size medium, and so that's where our standardized sizing comes from, and like it's in your contract. You cannot change weight. And like imagine the mental pressure of that, on top of everything else. And so every piece of clothing that we have as far as American standardized clothing has been some girl in a studio, like bra and panties, and they're measuring her, and she has to try on all these outfits, and like that's where that comes from.
Oh, interesting. I did notice even on Amazon lately, you can pick a different size model that you can see, and I'm sure that's all AI based now. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, I just noticed that a couple days ago.
And they're making small strides, But Victoria's Secret really pissed everybody off when they came out with that plus size line.
Right, and it was not plus size.
So here's another insight for you if we're talking about standards, right? The fashion industry considers anything bigger than a dress size 6 to be plus size. I'm a 4. Okay, that means if I gained a couple more pounds, I'd quite literally be a plus size model. How insulting is that?
Yeah.
And so imagine that as Victoria's Secret as the quintessential, they've got their angels, and like those are the women where we're like, oh, I want to be like her, and they're shoving this standard in our face of like, this is the perfect woman. And they come out with plus size, and it's just average people. And you're like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so like, it's quite literally such a glaring hatred towards like women's bodies, and we just have to stand here and be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I feel bad for just existing in my skin now. And it's been glaringly obvious for a while now. So that is the shaking up I'm trying to do and introduce. And I'm quite literally fighting those fashion industry standards of, that this should be the new standard. Like you said, being able to see what it looks like on different bodies, just by that should be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And so the size adjustable thing has been a new thing for American standardized. Like I'm one of the very few designers that have done this. And then when I took it global, it did not go very well in Europe.
No.
Yeah. That was they did not take kindly to that.
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't realize, the whole Victoria's Secret thing, like before I got my breast reduction, I couldn't fit in any of their bras.
No.
I tried multiple times because I'm like, oh, they're so pretty.
They're so cute,
yeah, they're so cute. And then I was like, I can't fit any of these. I'm like, how? And I mean, I wasn't like giant, but I also wasn't small, right? And so, I mean, it was, I think, triple D was like where I was at before I got my reduction.
Yeah.
And so yeah, none of theirs fit me.
No, I
And
wouldn't
so that is
expect.
interesting. I mean, now I can wear Victoria's Secrets, but I choose
Right,
not
we gotta
to very
physically
often.
go to surgery to do that. Like, oh my God, do not don't downplay you. That's a them problem.
Right. You're like, hey, by the way, you have to go get surgery to actually fit in their
do
stuff.
you want to come in this store? Let's measure you first.
That's how you feel sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And it was so common, like back in the shopping mall days, if you will, 15 years ago, where even the, let's look at Hollister, for example. You remember those stores. Quite literally, when you applied at that store, you were applying as a model.
Wow.
Yeah. And so like you would go through a casting call experience as a Hollister. I think Abercrombie maybe was doing it too.
Yeah.
But you were literally a model, a sales floor model.
Wow.
Yeah. And so like that goes into a whole nother thing of just like that pressure to be, just a superficial face of a company that could care less about your mental health.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to our quick first sponsor break, but when we get back, I would love to talk about Europe and how that kind of went, if you're open to it.
Yeah, we're going to drop that.
Cool. All right. Well, we will be right back after this quick sponsored break.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
1 in 8 people globally live with a mental disorder.
That's why empowering minds saves lives.
We need your help.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
Hi, my name is Dr. Constance Leland from Level Up Circle TV, where I elevate the world through education, one learner at a time. Join me on Fresh Takes at 9 a.m. Thursday, Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Have a fantastic day. Bye.
Are you crypto curious? Maybe it's a little too scary for you to get involved in all this crazy Bitcoin cryptocurrency stuff. Join me, your host, Charlie Stivers of Goose Live. Find us on Achieve TV Thursdays, noon Mountain Time, where we talk all things crypto.
And we're back like that. It's magic. I said that a different way than I normally do. If you happen to be just joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much for watching or listening. My guests today, Via and I, are really talking about the fashion industry, the things that you may or may not know about it, and then how really trying to shake it up, trying to make some shifts, some changes, which I know we're talking about plus size. And I know that has become a much bigger topic because women were finally like, hey, what about me? Right. And then so based off of the standard model, right? Size 6 and plus is plus model, which blows my mind because that's just normal. Right.
Yeah.
But then you look at the plus, I guess the plus size models. I don't know what you even call, but the 12s, the 13th, the 14th. Yeah.
Curvy models.
Yeah. So, what is the standard when you talk about plus size, and like, is there a too big, or do you know?
That's a good question. And since it's such a new topic, it's kind of a gray area, I think, right now. And I think we're in the middle of that shift. Like ever since Victoria's Secret just destroyed, our sense of self, we've kind of been rebuilding that on like, okay, well, what does plus size look like? And so there have been a great shift in designers that are now inclusive. And that definition basically means that they have a broader spectrum of standardized sizes that are not just small through large, right?
Yeah.
So now we've got all these other sizes, and we're almost shifting to kind of a European outlook on sizes where it's more number based, based off of your actual measurements and circumference rather than small, medium, and large, because I mean, no one wants to be called large,
Right.
you know? And so we're also seeing some of the fashion industry manufacturing fight back too, where like they're now, the smalls are getting smaller and the larges are getting smaller. And now we're sitting here being like, what, is it me? Like, what's going on? And no one's talking about this paradigm that's happening. And we're all kind of just fighting for our lives at the store. Like, maybe I'll try this one. Maybe I'll try that one. And we feel like if our sizes are changing and now, you know, maybe there's something wrong with us and we're cutting, and we've got all these diets that are, you know, coming into play, and Ozempic and all these celebrities are like, you know, even the plus size celebrities we used to see, right? They're now like Lizzo and Rebel Wilson and Adele, and they used to be that, well, I want to represent the plus size community. They're all literally now on diet pills and shrinking in size. So what is that telling us? Yeah, what is that telling us? And even the tiny girls that started out are looking like skin and bones. And you're like, this is not the world I want to raise my daughter in, to believe that she needs to look a certain way to be accepted by the society.
Yeah.
And so we've got some designers out here that are kind of combating with that as far as their inclusive designs. You've got some boutiques as well that are only doing plus size or, you know, inclusive designers. And so you kind of see that, I don't know, but they're still making it a special thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. It's not just like normal. It's like
not
special.
Exactly. And you have to go to a plus size designer or a plus size or an inclusive. And it's like, that's making you special still, even though that should be the standard, you know? And so it's still got this weird stigma around it where it's like your bodies can't just be bodies. Like they have to be some weird special thing where now you got to go to your doctor and get some diet pill because you can't fit in clothes that are sold at the store.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been more of an American thing, if you will. And a lot of the stuff, like you'll hear Europeans be like, oh, that's American size, referring to it being too big.
Oh, okay.
Which alone is insulting. Like, come on.
Right. Yes.
But you're seeing it a lot in fashion too. And so I can speak from personal experience because I've gone to Paris Fashion Week, Milan Fashion Week, and Tokyo Fashion Week now. And I've taken my inclusive designs globally to different countries kind of to test this theory as well. And so Paris, we opened the whole show. It was incredible. I was the first designer for the first show. My friend Caitlin was there. Of course, you know Caitlin. For those of you that don't, she is a disabled model. And so she represents the disabled community in her wheelchair. And we took her wheelchair on the runway. And it was one of the first times like a disabled body has been on an able-bodied runway.
Wow.
And I've heard people argue this and they're like, well, they've had handicapped shows before. And I'm like, first of all,
special
don't downplay what we did.
Yeah.
Because something similar has happened before. And also a handicapped show is the same thing as an inclusive boutique. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole show dedicated to just disabled people. And once again, alienating them, making them feel weird or special because their bodies are different. So I fully embrace that as a designer who loves different bodies, you know? And so I've started to make some, we've got inclusive designers that have like a broad spectrum of sizes. And there's a new form of designer that's coming out as well called adaptive. And they are actually making disabled friendly clothing. And so like they've got zippers for ports if you've got like a port, or they've got zippers down the legs for people who maybe need prosthetics. And so it makes clothing more easy for them as well. And we're seeing some of those start come into play too, which is really fascinating for me. Like now we're making functional clothing for people that's not just covering our bodies. Like we're showing it off now. And you can almost see the shift in pride too, when you can, you know, sport that kind of activity in fashion. And so it's been really fascinating. But when I went overseas, I was the only designer. And I was the only designer that brought my own models. So of course it's all of us.
Oh, right.
We're
right.
unapologetically American in the middle of Paris during Fashion Week. So they did not take kindly. On top of that, I'm of course challenging their fashion standards, you know, in a place that very much is still going by the traditional sizing. They're not ready for that over there. Like, I realized that the inclusive thing was an American thing on those trips. And so I was like, oh wow, they want us to open the show. And then I was like, oh, they want us out of here.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay,
yeah,
right.
they almost like and I
It's
realized
not the close,
that
it's the open. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And they were like, just get these freaking Americans out of here. Like, they
Oh.
were less than friendly with us as a whole. They were very rude to my handicapped model. Yeah, so we paired up with a high heel designer, and the high heel designer just brought random assortment of shoes, and we kind of had to mix and match what fit everybody the best. And so with that, models are expected to just wear any size shoe that they give you, and you walk in it. If it's too big, you're shoving tissues in there, sometimes socks, or maybe Band-Aids so you're not getting blisters on the back. Like, we've got many tips and tricks on how to get a foot in a shoe.
Oh, no.
One of these, though, however, because my handicapped model, she's in the wheelchair and can't feel her feet. Okay, and so we switch her into some very gorgeous high heels, and she sported them very well. But she's got, because she's had so many seizures and whatnot, her toes are like cramped upwards. So they didn't fit in the shoe the normal way. And this lady for the production company was losing it over Caitlin's toes not being aesthetically pleasing in the shoe. And she's quite literally down here digging her finger and like didn't ask for consent to touch Caitlin, didn't ask if she could help her get her dressed or anything, and she's literally over here shoving her toes back into her shoes. And Caitlin can't feel this, so she's over here talking to me, yada 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 yada, having a great time, and she looks back and this random lady's over here shoving like her fingers in her toes. To this day, we call her the toe toucher. She's become a myth now. The kids are afraid of her. Like, she's gonna come touch your toes. And so it was really funny when they invited us back to Milan, because I was like, no, that was the Paris crew. Like, she's not going to be there. The first day I'm at the designer meeting and I see the toe toucher, and I sent Caitlin a message. I was like, she's here. I do toes.
Like, we're not using you.
Yeah, and so it was it's just one of those weird examples of like, why do the toes matter? You know, if they're like really they're still showing off the shoes, you know, but it was almost one of those things where like Caitlin felt really bad about herself afterwards because her toes didn't look right in a picture that, you know, was supposed to showcase some shoes, and the designer didn't care. The designer of the shoes didn't care. She was like, oh my God, you look so amazing. And she was giving Caitlin all these beautiful compliments about how great the shoes looked on her. But like it didn't matter how many compliments you gave her at that point in time. She was so in her head about her toes, something she literally had no control over because she was paralyzed.
Yeah.
You know, and like went through so much trauma alone with her medical history. And for them to like bring that out and make her, and this was right before we walked.
Oh, wow.
Like, we were backstage getting dressed, you know what I mean? And then we had to line up, and she had to pull herself out of that. And that's, again, one of those mental health things that, like, models, like, I've seen girls crying backstage, like, having a mental breakdown, and people are like, you're going to mess up your makeup.
Oh, right.
You know, like, that's what they care about. And I've had to sit through years of this, both on the model and the designer side, where I'm like, you people are horrible. Like, oh my God, there should be a therapist backstage on shows, because they are just destroying these people, you know? And so again, it just further fuels me every single time, where I'm like, this is why I'm doing this, because I am so sick of just seeing beautiful people just tormented in their own bodies. And, you know, for what? For influencers in the front row so they can take a picture and forget about it. You know, they're not even going to post that online because they don't care. They got a free ticket to a fashion show. Like, what do they care?
Right.
And so it's so deep, and it's also not so deep at the same time. Like, we really just need to be more creative. Like, we're creators. Let's create a more inclusive, actual inclusive, you know, brand and designs, and it should be shared information between the designers on different ways that we could create adjustable clothing or adaptive clothing, and like, how can we make this a happier experience for people, because people hate shopping now, and most of it's online shopping. How are you going to try that on?
Right.
And I have so many girls bringing me stuff to tailor clothes they bought online that don't fit them. And I'll just open my studio closet and be like, come try some stuff on, babe. Like, this is going to look so good on you. And it's the same cost after I alter something for you than it would be. And you can come play dress up with me. Like, that's way more fun, isn't it? So yeah, it's really been kind of difficult. Tokyo was a lot more open to the adjustable clothing than Paris and Milan were. But also because of like how media and everything is, like, they just discovered Bapes from that we had from, you know, back in our Jenko days. Like, that was like so long ago. And they are flashing Bapes like it's still the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Like, okay,
Like,
I'll come back in like 20 years.
right. Like, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so at least I know they're behind. So, like, you know, I can come blow their minds in like 10 years. So, like, it's futuristic.
Yeah, totally. I think there is something to also be said. So you were talking about the celebrities and how they have sized down, right?
Yeah.
Also being able to appreciate our bodies, how they are. I also believe, like, when we talk about Europe and other countries, the level of health. So if we're talking about like health wise, I think that Americans, we are not as healthy. I mean, even if you look at, and I've had these conversations with others, but if you look at cereal, right? So the cereal in Europe has very like little
5 ingredients.
Yeah, 5 ingredients.
And you know the names and how to pronounce all of them.
Yes. And then you look at the cereal in the United States and it's just all fillers. So like, I think there genuinely is something when we talk about mental health and physical health, and we need to be aware of that. And I do believe that the celebrities that are sizing down for health benefits is incredible, right? I 100%. Understand that some of them are not getting the roles like they used to, but if they are feeling better about their bodies and their bodies physically are better, I think that is important.
Yes.
I don't think we need to be like model standard by any mean, but I think that there needs to be an open conversation about health in America that other countries are having and we're not.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why a little bit more, I mean, I don't necessarily have fashion, like that's just a whole different standard there, but I think health wise, like that has to be a conversation in America too.
No, I completely agree with you. There's definitely a connection there. And I think it literally goes back to as simple as you are what you eat, right? And so like that eating healthy goes straight directly into your mental health as well. If you feel better, you're going to think more positively about yourself, and your self-talk might get a little bit better, or maybe you start exercising a little bit more, you know? And so like that also goes down into your physical appearance and how you start. And then like, once you feel better about yourself, you start dressing better, you know? And so like it all quite literally rolls into itself. And yes, there's so much to be said about the unhealthy nature of the food and the over-processed food and the obesity problem that we've got here, which is a whole different conversation. We have a whole other episode.
Another episode, yes.
But yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. You know, these celebrities who are downsizing for the right reasons, I'm so behind them on that. And I'm proud of them, because it takes a lot to be able to be in that vulnerable state. And show that you are still proud of yourself and who you are, but be able to take the steps and acknowledge that, like, okay, if there are so many people that care about me as a celebrity and representing them, I'm going to take the steps to be able to, you know, better myself for my fans and stuff like that. On that same page, you're totally right. They're not getting the same roles that they are, which is good for them, because how many of those people got cast as the fat dorky person, or they were the comedic relief where they were supposed to be laughed at and made fun of, and like that still has to affect you to some part, you know, again, like where's the therapist on set? Because like, and who's writing these scripts?
Yes.
You know? And it's not just the fashion industry, it is the entertainment industry altogether.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't just stop at, you know, fashion shows, runway, like that's really just the beginning, because that's where the clothes start. And then it spreads elsewhere from there into the department stores and things like that. And then you've got your fast fashion, and they don't care about adjustability because it's a t-shirt, and you know, so it's so deep seated, but again, it could be so easy if we all just took the right steps towards that. But yeah, I can 100% vouch that all of the food probably in Italy was my favorite.
Ooh,
and was probably like the freshest food I've ever had. Like I was such a snob when I came back. I was like, I can't eat anything. What is this garbage? Like, I was such a brat about it. But definitely, you know, and you didn't really see any generally obese or overweight people while you were there. You know, so I could 100% see how if it's not something that they regularly come into contact with, how it would be weird or foreign for them. And them having that weird association between like, oh, Americans are all just American size, like they're doing their own thing over there with McDonald's, let them have it. But on that same page, even the McDonald's over there were selling different foods. I went to McDonald's in Paris, Milan, and Tokyo, again, as part of market research. Yes, I ate it. Okay.
You're like, yes.
I did. It was part of the science. Okay. But they all sold different things. And so McDonald's had a lot of salads, you know, and they had like wraps more so than burgers and, you know, like heavy things like that. And then like for desserts, they had like yogurts and then like macaroons, and everything was a lot smaller portioned than it is here. And
bigger is not always better.
Exactly. And I remember in high school, I took French classes because I knew I was going to Paris. Oh, really? Oh my God, that is so funny. Because I knew like Paris Fashion Week was one of my goals. And so like I took French classes. My parents were like, that's stupid. You're never going to speak French. Like we speak English and Spanish in America. Like that's it. Take Spanish. And I was like, you're putting me in a box and I don't like it. So I took 5 years of French, and I was like, I'm full sending this. Okay. And so I actually hosted, we hosted foreign exchange students from Paris, not Paris, but France, during probably my last year of French class. And that was really incredible. And we got to, they came over, they stayed with us probably for about a week or so. And I remember every time we went out to eat, they would not stop taking pictures of their food. And they were
like how big it was?
God, yeah. The first night we went to Applebee's, okay, and half the dudes got burgers, and like the way they couldn't pick up the burger, and they were like, this is the craziest thing ever. And they were like just obsessed with how big our food was, you know? And and it really is such a reflection. And now that I've gone over there, I'm like, I get it. Like, yeah, that was like 4 burgers for them,
right?
You know?
Like I get
and
it
like
now.
if that's what we're regularly fed here, it makes sense that we've got an overconsumption problem because that's our standard. And so like it's almost like the standards are flipped, where the food is getting more overprocessed and bigger while our clothes are getting smaller.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing it on purpose.
Totally. Yes, I agree. Yeah. We're going to go to our quick last sponsored break, but once we come back, we're going to chat a little bit more about all the things fashion. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Kelli, host of the Make Mental Health Matter show, impact lives?
Number 1, awareness.
My story, Oliver, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
2, conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different, and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3, education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, we're back again. Magic. You know, TV magic. If you happen to be tuning into the Make Mental Health Matter show now, make sure you go back and watch the whole first half of this, because you missed a lot. So I wanted to also, because we have about 10-ish minutes left, but I want to talk about more like your designs. And I think the biggest thing, so we met at Pride a couple years ago, and you just happened to walk into the vendor table and you had one of your models with you. And so we started having this whole conversation about mental health and the fashion industry. And then we're like, we need a partner, but had no idea what the heck. Yeah, we're like, we're going to figure something out. Started having conversations about doing a fashion show and decided that we were going to have all the designers design around mental health challenges, which, oh my gosh, I can't even, like, I was crying throughout portions of the very first film or for the fashion show, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to fully market it until, oh my gosh, that first show. I mean, the second one was amazing too, but the first show, I was just like, the creativity, the styles of clothes, the models that were part of it. And I knew the moment that we did the model call and I saw the women and men that came in that were all inclusive, right? It wasn't just, and of course, being tattooed, right? I think of fashion and I'm like, well, I can't be a model because I have a lot of tattoos. And then it was like people walked in and I was like, yep, those are my people. These are my people. Yes. I was like, yes, I love you guys already, just because of the amount of different people. I mean, it didn't matter what race or gender or, we had everybody. Yes.
Everybody was here. And that's one of, I don't love about mental health, but it's so relatable because everybody struggles with it and you can't tell because it's not surface deep, And so, that first casting call was overwhelming with support for sure. And the designers came locked and loaded with their designs. And, when they started coming up with their original ideas, they were really like, oh, I'm just going to do depression. Then I'm going to do anxiety. And then it was I want to do anger. And it started really surface level, but it was almost by the end of it, it turned into one of those feelings wheels where it goes into the layers. And somebody was like, I'm doing, God, what was it? It was bipolar personality disorder, whatever. And
ADD.
She literally showcased 7 different things. It was anxiety, it was schizophrenia. She had that girl that was fighting with the demon at the end versus the angel. And I was like, what is happening? Yes. This costume is 7 feet tall. And it was just incredible to see how everybody came forward for that community aspect of, mental health mattering. to everyone. You know, there were children that were involved in the show, and they probably have no idea what we're even talking about yet.
They're like, what's
Bless
happening?
their
What?
hearts.
Yes.
Please keep that forever. But yeah, to be able to like see people in the crowd that were crying, and I was like, oh, we did it. You know, like we made a stance, and then like a lot of people also were like, that was really heavy.
Oh, yes. They were like, wow, what just happened?
That was so dark. Yeah. They're like, was that guy a demon? Like, what is going on here? And, but that's what we wanted, you know, because it is such a taboo topic for so many people, and it affects such a broad spectrum of people. And that's the same reason we wrap it into fashion, because everybody has to wear clothes. Everybody has to wear something on their bodies. And the purpose of that is to make you feel good in it when you go to pick it out of your closet. And so having those little kind of, you know, self-talk demons that were represented in the show, it was good to kind of be able to showcase that along with fashion and have those two parallels be like, this is one and the same here. And we had depression, we had anxiety, we had suicide awareness. That one was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
House of Faye, love you, girl. She did shadow work, and when she came forward with that idea, I was like, do it, full send it, girl. Yes. And it was all black velvet dresses with like the wire just encased, and it was just like swooping, and I was like, I don't know how you came up with this, but keep going. And yeah, she showcased like 15 dresses and outfits, and they were all just non-binary. Like some of the men were in dresses, and I was like, this is gorgeous. Like these are so amazing. And then of course by the end of it, like I was the last one to pick what topic, because I wanted everyone else to like have their fair share. And I was like, I got to do something positive. Like this is so dark. Like people are going to be crying, and I want them to like, you know, have something good to come out of it. So I ended up doing like self-care and self-love. And so that was mine, was basically self-hate to self-love. And I had basically just 9 white t-shirts, and it started out as just like the white t-shirt was like hate, ugly, not enough, and just all of the things that I'd been told throughout my life projected onto one outfit. And then it slowly got into like the different phases of my own mental health healing journey, to where the end of it was like, you know, femininity and embracing my true self, and then self-love. And the models killed it, and they were out there like twirling around and like playing, and the very and each shirt had a broken heart. And it was all sutured up, and each one got like smaller and smaller. And by the end of it, I actually had my one child model who was walking, and she was supposed to represent like the healed inner child. And she had like this huge quilted dress that she walked in, and it was all just patchwork and stuff. And it represented the healing journey of all the different aspects and pieces of yourself that you get spread out in so many different areas throughout your life when you just give parts to yourself and everybody. And it was that final like resting, healing journey at the end where you're like, this is all me, it all makes sense now, you know, like that weird thing I went through 3 years ago, like I can draw on that experience now and apply it here, and kind of heal yourself in that sense through your own trauma. And so when everybody came out in support for the whole show, I mean, it was incredible. And then getting to do it again a second time, that was so great.
I wish we would have recorded the very first one, because it was so dark where we were at. So like we kind of lost some of the aspects. I know we have some video recording. It is on the Make Mental Health Matter website if you want to go check out some of them.
It's incredible.
But the second one, I actually filmed the whole entire thing.
Yes,
and that one
I'm
was
so glad
really
you did.
cool too, because it showcased a little bit more of the fashion aspect.
Yes.
But what I loved is that we had so many different models in that one.
Yes.
That was really cool.
We did. And that was partially due to one of my good friends, Scoop. He owns Primacia Creations here in Denver as well, and he's one of our inclusive designers. So he creates a brand of I don't even know what I'd call them. He calls them wonder suits, if you will. And it's a one-piece outfit that goes from gym to pool and back. And so it can be used as exercise stuff, but it's also swimwear. And he's very eco-friendly, like very conscious about, like, he had a meltdown about microplastics in his stuff the other day. And I was like, it's going to be fine, you know, like, but he cares so much. And he puts all of that love into his outfits. And he himself, he has Asperger's. And so that is his passion, in his passion projects. And so his whole brand is all about the disabled community. It's even his logo. Yeah. And so all of his models, like they had leg braces or canes, and like he represented the disabled community again. And so I just love working with him because he's such a pleasure to be around.
Oh, yes.
And he just brings it. And he's got so much fire and passion to him. And he's just such a great person. And so, yeah, we got to showcase a lot of that, again, mental health, because I mean, I don't even know what the disabled models would have to go through. I'm sure that's a crazy rigorous process. One of the models he did use came to my house to get her measurements and stuff. And, we kind of had that discussion because she hadn't worn the leg braces in years. Okay. And she was like, I actually hate wearing them. I know I walk better, but people look at me different when I wear them. And I was like, my heart is just breaking for you, like, oh, that sucks. And then like she got to wear her outfit and she actually felt really good.
She looked really good too.
God, and she had so much fun out there, and her son was with her, and it was the first time he got to walk on the runway too, and you could tell he was loving it. Like he loved it. And so it's really like just bringing so many different aspects of the community together by having shows like that. And then, you guys had your advocates for recovery and all of our sponsors, and just being able to bring all of those pieces into one showcase was just amazing.
Well, I think it was really cool because there were several also transgender models that we had, some of them for the very first time ever walking. We had pageant women queens, we had it was just, and I know you were backstage, but one of the cool parts was when we allowed the crowd because Jalen was like, hey, come up if you want to do the runway, and it was like everybody that decided to go up, you saw the confidence, like, because they're not in anything, they're like, wait, what am I doing?
The hair and makeup people, they still had like their shirts on and stuff.
Yeah, but it was so cool to see the audience like just get up and do the runway at least one time.
And it's so much fun. Yeah,
it was so much fun, and my heart just like all the time, I just get really excited when I think about like what we put into this space, and of course based off of the feedback that we got last year of like it's really heavy, we added that comedy aspect, but it was huge, but it was also hilarious because all of the comedians are in recovery and they talk about their journey, which is hilarious. It may not have been appropriate for the littles, but it worked. So
they don't know.
They don't know either. Yes. I know we are coming close to the end, but my thought went into, because when we talk about littles, right, they have the adjustable clothing.
Yes.
And it makes it so much easier because I know my son, he is tiny down at the bottom, but he's long and, well, I'm like, which way? No, he's got long legs, short torso, but skinny. And so instead of putting him in like a 2T or whatever, right, like you can put him in the adjustable clothes. So I love that you're doing adjustable clothes and we saw it a ton at that fashion show, which was really cool because we had larger models and then we saw very small models and the clothes and how they can adjust. And I think that was so cool.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that for sure, because as always, something falls through, there's a disaster, you have to fix problems. And one of the designers dropped out last minute and didn't tell her models. So we still had all those models show up like ready to walk. And I do plan A through Z, right? So of course, me, I show up with like my whole studio in one bag and I'm like, pick stuff, start trying stuff on. And I'm just throwing these clothes at models. And because they're size adjustable, like I didn't have to plan ahead of like, oh, she's this size and that size. And like, oh, you're not going to fit in that, because how rude of me to be like, oh, this isn't going to fit you. Like, oh my God, I couldn't even imagine saying that to somebody, let alone receiving that message myself. And so like, it was really cool for me to just be like, and I still get people like, are you gonna, like, is this gonna fit me? Do you have my measurements? And I'm like, actually, I don't need your measurements. Yeah. And I go into my whole spiel about it, and they're like, wow, that's fascinating. Like, I've never heard of anybody doing that before. So yeah, being able to like bring something new to the landscape and the conversation and be like, why aren't we doing this? You know, let's make this the new standard.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about.
I love it. So I would love for you to share where people can follow you if they want to. And then also, like, what is the one place when you can, not if, but when you can take your designs to? Where do you want to do that?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. Okay, so I would say I would take my clothes I'd probably take my, that's such a hard question. I don't know. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to my upcoming production for Florida Fashion Week. It's my whole own production. I decided to like just jump in for it. But I'm kind of bringing it back home. I grew up in Florida, so I'm from that area. And so I'm bringing everything back, and it's kind of that full circle moment for me where like literally Tampa is where I got signed with my mother agency and grew up walking for JCPenney for 6 years. And so I can kind of bring it full circle now and be like, okay, well, now I'm doing my own thing and I'm shoving these standards you guys taught me back in your face. And so I'm actually really looking forward to it.
Yay.
And again, we're casting all kinds of models. I've got tons of different designers that are coming. So it's going to be an amazing event down there. So I'm really looking forward to being able to close that loop, so to speak.
And when is that?
That is September 21st through the 25th is our whole 5-day event. The show itself is September 23rd, and that will be live streamed.
Nice.
So you can watch that. My Instagram is instagram.com/Via Moscato. And you can also follow me on Facebook at Via Rose Moscato. That is my personal one. You'll see all the behind the scenes, all the failed designs, all of the bloopers and outtakes and all the good stuff. And then you can also catch all of my stuff on my website as well. So that's viamoscato.shop. All of my designs are on there, and any upcoming events as well are going to be on there too. So if you're a model that wants to join in on the fun, you can register there. Or if you want to just check out what we've got in shop, that's a great place to start for sure.
Nice. Well, we could talk for hours, of course, but we are at the end. So make sure that you follow Via, and one day, hopefully sooner than later, I will have a Via Moscato original that I can wear. It is in the works. Another conversation too, but definitely make sure whatever you do, hopefully this helped you just understand a little bit more about the fashion industry, mental health, how they're lying to you. And really, like, it is important for us as humans to understand how we show up, and like the standards and all those things. So hopefully this was helpful, but no matter what you do, make sure you come back next Monday. I go live every single Monday at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. You can listen or watch via E360 TV or Dream Vision 7 Radio. So we'll see ya next time. Bye, y'all.